Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Reverend Jim Ernst, and this is Unity of Charlotte. And welcome. If you're in the sanctuary, if you're on Zoom, if you're viewing this recording some other time during the week, welcome, welcome. Unity of Charlotte is a place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, this means that we are here to love, grow, and serve, as you can see on our slide up there. If you're here for the first or maybe even second time, we would love a chance to get to welcome you and to know you. So if you're here for the first or second time, just bravely, wow, okay, we've got some new folks here. Welcome, welcome. And hopefully we'll get a chance to say hello to you in person as well after the service. So I'm so glad that you're here. Know that we have a website, know that we have a newsletter that outlines everything that's going on in our community, and you're welcome to sign up for that as well. And you can see our greeter, who is Kay today, for that sign up as well. And do we have a visitor packet that we could hand out? Yes, we do. Already done. You guys are awesome. We invite you to reach out to me or anyone in this congregation to get to know us specifically or the Unity movement in general as well. And you can, like I said, check us out on that website. Let's go through some announcements. So we'll get these announcements up. And we have an annual meeting next week. If I got that right, next week. When is it? Next week. And we're meeting early. Our service will not be at 9:30, it'll be at 9 a.m. so that at 9:30, we can have our annual meeting and be out of here by 10:30. So I've been in annual meetings where they go on for hours and hours. So we're compacting this into a 1-hour annual meeting. I see some worried looks out there. It's like, oh, are we up for this? Can we do this? Yes, yes, we can. So 9 a.m. next week here. And on Zoom as well. So either way. This month we are doing our Uncomfortable Conversations with the Black Man book study. It is closed for registration. So I'm just reminding those who have already started that 6-week process that this is week 3 we're entering into, and we'll do that right after our service in the prayer room. We also have Coffee with the Ministers. That is a once a week Friday, 9 a.m. On Zoom meeting. That gives us a chance to get to know each other. That gives us a chance to also enter into prayer and read a devotional. And it's just a really, really good way to start off your Friday morning. Pub Theology is once a month, and that's coming up Thursday, March 2nd. That will be at Sir Ed's, is what the cool kids call it. What's that? Sir Ed's, that's what I hear. That's what I hear. So I'm going with that. Also upcoming, we have a prosperity class at the end of March, and we'll get more information as we get closer to that as well. Our ongoing things, ACIM, A Course in Miracles, Thursdays on Zoom, Dialogue as Service, Wednesdays, Intention Meditation, the first and third Tuesdays, the Belmont Study Group, Tuesdays at 7:30, and the men's group, the second and fourth Wednesday, which means that Wednesday is coming up. Have I got it right, guys? Yes, that one's coming up. So, and that meets here on that Wednesday morning at 9:30. Oh, what else? I think that is it in terms of announcements. So thank you for your attention on that. As part of our prayer today, let us enter into our prayer for oneness. I'm going to ask you to join me in this. So out loud, there is one presence and one power in my life and universe, God, the good omnipotence. And at this time, we also want to open up the space for prayer in terms of if you know of somebody who is in need of prayer, even yourself, if you are in need of prayer, we're going to enter into a bit of silence this morning and allow you to speak out loud that name gently speak out loud that name so that all of us can hold that person in that sacred space, in that prayer. So let's go ahead at this time and say their names out loud. Anna, Corey, Darlene, Drew, and we hold all these names in our heart, knowing that the truth of who they are will become apparent, and all is well. Amen. So know also that Silent Unity is available to all of us as well. It is, you can call them on the phone. It is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, 365-day thing. I'm losing my words here. Ministry. It's a service. Any other words that we can use for that we have available to us, Silent Unity. You can also use the app. I use the app every morning. You Pray is the name of the app. You can get through Google or through Apple as well. Let's go ahead and read the daily word this morning. Aspire. I aspire to help create a world that works for all. I hold a vision of an equitable world, a global community that supports and encourages all people to live fully and reach their unique potential. I feel a kinship with those who hold a similar vision and work to realize it. My past experiences and present perspective show me what is mine to do and how I can contribute to realizing my vision. I trust I will be guided and inspired to find avenues of service where the things I do best and most enjoy doing will be the most helpful. I bless people I may never meet, and I offer my time, talents, and effort to further my vision of a new way of living. With clarity of purpose, I take my place among a growing network of caring, visionary souls. And from the book of Ephesians, the gifts he gave were to equip the saints for the work of ministry, for building up the body of Christ. Come back to that. So what I'd like to do is invite Reverend Lisa up to introduce our speakers for today.
Well, good morning. It is so lovely to see all your faces and some new faces that I haven't seen. Might not be new here, but you might be new to me. So welcome. We have a special message time this Sunday. As most of you know, I'm probably going to get directions to stay behind the podium. As most of you know, we have been honoring and celebrating Black History Month through February. And in one way we've been doing that is our focus on our messages have been on diversity and inclusivity, and specifically within unity. And the first Sunday we looked at the what it really means to be accepting and open to diversity, and what it really means to move into being truly inclusive. And that it's not just, it goes past welcoming and accepting into understanding and collaborating and creating an environment that works for everyone. And that means our systems change. So we have also, in honor of Black History Month and celebrating inclusivity and diversity, we've done a book study using the book Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man by Emmanuel Acho. And we felt like this was a great place to start because it is really directed at questions that white people might be really uncomfortable asking, but they need to start understanding at a deeper level. So we have created a safe circle where those questions can be addressed and we can start learning what's behind those questions. And it has stimulated some really interesting and rich conversation, and we'll continue for 4 more weeks to do that. And I'm sure we'll be following up with more classes and more studies and more opportunity to continue to grow our awareness of each other in a whole new, deeper, more inclusive way. So I'm very excited by what's happening. Now, this Sunday we have a special message because we have invited our own members to come speak to you. Because we create community by knowing each other's stories and getting to know each other a little better. So we have 2 members who are going to be speaking to you and sharing their stories this morning. And I just want to express my appreciation and honor that you accepted and are willing to come and share your stories. And I'm looking forward to it because I haven't really known you all that long. So I know that I will be learning something new, but even those of you who know them and have for years may learn something new too. So the first person I want to invite up is our current board president. He's been a long-term member, and as far as I can tell, one of the most dedicated and committed members of our community, and has been a steadfast presence, especially through these last few years of COVID, no ministers, changing in the building. There's been lots of changes. So I just want to express my appreciation and honor, and I'm looking forward to hearing his story, Mr. Lawrence Toliver.
Reverend Lisa, thank you very much for this opportunity to address the subject from a personal perspective. And good morning to all of you. So nice to see some newcomers as well. As Reverend Lisa has already said, I've been serving as your president of the Board of Trustees for 2022, and my term will end on next Sunday when a new Board of Trustees is sworn in. And I must tell you that I have a lot of things I could be talking about, but she only gave me 5 minutes. So the clock is running. Number one, I was born up north. I grew up as a kid, as a teenager, in a little town called Aliquippa, Pennsylvania. And when I went to school in kindergarten, the year was 1948. So you might want to start doing your arithmetic. And the kindergarten was integrated. It was a nice small town to grow up in. It's steel town. Had a big J&L steel mill, stretched 5.5 miles on the Ohio River. And I worked there once. And I worked in another steel mill as well, as grocery stores and what have you. Let me just tell you that in my upbringing, my mother and father helped me understand how to be part of a community, because they were leaders in the community, and I participated along with them in community activities, things like theater, and also things like a really community-wide Halloween celebration. One of my aunts was the star of that. And that was repeated over and over again, but still was fun the whole time. I never felt excluded. Let me just be really honest with you. Not growing up in the South, not having the same barriers that other people had in 1948, I never felt excluded. And when I came here to Unity of Charlotte, it was January the 6th of 2013. I acted as though I already belonged. Any of you who were present know I stepped right in. I believed in what I had learned because I had been introduced to New Thought in 1976. So between 76 and 2013, I had done a lot of things in the field of New Thought, including serving on the International Board of Religious Science International. So I'm not a novice. When I showed up, I wasn't a novice, I was an activist. And even in terms of being an activist, my activism started in 1963. That's when I realized I better get my butt back into college before I get drafted. I wasn't going. I just tell you straight up. I was not going to lift a gun against the Vietnamese. I wasn't going. I was drafted a total of 4 times by 1968. And I didn't get thrown in jail for my resistance. Instead, someone discovered that I had high blood pressure. And as a consequence of being able to endure physical education at the bottom of Manhattan in a place called Whitehead. That's where you came and got examined and got sworn in. And I had my passport. I had my connections in Canada, and I wasn't going. I was spared this tough situation when the blood pressure spiked. And as you can imagine, in a tough situation, probably everybody's blood pressure would go up. It's a stressful situation. Now, my activism is what drew me here. I wanted to discover some people who might also be peace activists. And when I came here, I introduced myself to Reverend Nancy Ennis. She was most welcoming, and she introduced me to a number of other activists, including Horace and George Bostic and several other people. So I was able to affiliate with your members, people who actually were real pillars of this spiritual community, and I was welcomed. In 2014, when I was listening to the wonderful band that we had at that time, it was maybe March or so, I realized that I had to get up and participate in the musical offerings of this congregation. And I was welcomed. I've been welcomed every step of the way in this community. I think that this is a wonderful spiritual community, particularly for a person like myself who is creative, have always been creative, have always been activated to be modeling the life that all of us can model if we choose. And I choose to be free and to act free and to actually, feel as though nobody's going to do anything to constrict my freedom. And, you don't always voice that as you go through the experience of living. But some of you, particularly those who have shared the Board of Trustees with me over the last 6 years, some of you know that I don't ask a whole lot of permission. I just, and the reason I don't is because the values I express are yours. The values I express are yours. This is a wonderful spiritual community. And I know if I did not step forward to help you succeed and develop, I would be failing to live up to my potential. And so my dedication is to strengthening you. And I will serve you till I die. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Lawrence. I mean, really, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are really a shining example of unity. These not just unity, new thought spiritual principles. They're universal spiritual principles. And you just saw a beautiful example of those manifesting through a life. So thank you. Our second speaker has also been here for quite a while, and many of you know him. And he also serves on the board and has been very dedicated to really carrying forth this community through some very tough times. He also is a beautiful unity presence out in our community, serving those who are struggling with shelter and food resources by serving at Roof Above, and has been doing so for, I think, years. And not only shows up to help serve them, but he is modeling unity principles when he does that, in the way he shows up, in the way he is present, and the way he speaks to these individuals, sharing the light of the truth of what we know, and that there is a divinity alive in each and every one. So I would like to welcome up Mr. Michael Brown.
I have misplaced my reading glasses, so I'm using my spare bifocals. So, but they're about 3 or 4 years old in terms of the prescription. So please bear with me. So, get started. I had to write some things down because I would have taken an hour. I would have taken an hour if I hadn't written some things down to keep me kind of compressed a little bit. There's a funny video done by Tyler Perry of Medea fame. I think most of y'all know who Tyler Perry is, I hope. But he had a story called Meet the Browns. And this is a very funny comedic type of situation. And one of the storylines was Mr. Brown had to go to his father's funeral. And he asked the minister if he could just say a few words. And the minister said, of course, I mean, you're his oldest son. How could I deny you? And so he got up there and he said, I just have a few things to say. Then he took out a scroll that actually went all the way down to the ground. So if my wife hadn't said, Michael, come on now. They said 5 minutes, so do the best you can. I will start with what I first learned. I believe it was 1995 when I came to Unity, and I looked at the program. And on the front of the program was a little motto. It was a Bible verse. I'm not sure, maybe Hebrews, maybe, well, now it's Michael. And it was also the same motto that a tennis group I've been playing with since 1974, I believe, had the same motto. And I thought, wow, that's not a coincidence. How good and pleasant it is when people, I changed the brethren to people, dwell together in unity. I saw that on the front of that program for Sunday service, how good and pleasant it is when people dwell together in unity. So, okay, that sounds good. That was 1995. Let me back up a second. Good morning, Unity. Good morning, Unity. Yeah, thank you. You're supposed to say good morning, Michael. Okay, good morning. Good morning, Michael. one of the first phrases that I learned was namaste. You know, people, namaste, namaste. I think I went about 2 Sundays. And I finally said, excuse me, I've never heard that phrase before. What does namaste mean? And I believe it was Alan that may have told me. Several people. There was one that gave you that big hug that wouldn't let you go, Mary. I forgot his name, and what I got out of it was this: the Christ in me beholds the Christ in you, and the Christ in you beholds the Christ in me. I was like, oh, nobody ever said that to me before. I've been going to church a long time, since I was a little boy, like 6 years old. And I just didn't have a clue. And I didn't know I had a clue until I came to Unity and started getting some clues. My involvement with Unity of Charlotte actually began before 1995, when Mary talked me into going over to a friend of ours' house to meet the fairly new minister, Randolph Wilkerson. And at that time, he just wanted to meet more and more African Americans, because Unity didn't have that many African Americans attending at that time. And we went over to their house and met and talked to him. And it's like, hey, there's an interesting brother here, And that was important to me. I'll be blunt about it. It was very important to me that he was a brother. Mary had gone to some meetings when Gervais Phillips was the minister at the time, and she went, and I said, that's some nice hippie stuff, it's all right, airy fairy, but okay, Mary was enjoying it, and like, okay, anything Mary enjoys, I'm down with, But I wasn't going, I just, drop her off, pick her up, or sometimes we could do a carpool thing and somebody else would drop her off or pick her up or whatever. But I went to some workshops with him called Unity in the Community. He held them in the hood. Some of y'all don't know what the hood is, so I'm not going to tell you to find out for yourself. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. Don't go after 10 o'clock, though. Called Unity in the Community, and we went there for about a year. After about a year going there, we would go to church every Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, because that's a real church time, by the way. It's 10:30 and 9:30 and all them other times. 11 o'clock. Now, it is the most segregated time and day in America, but it was traditional. So we go to church at 11 o'clock and sit there and listen and get happy a little bit, and sing some good rhythmic, songs or whatever. And then it's like, okay, now, you're getting up to that 1 o'clock time. Because in Black churches, 11 to 1 is nothing. Some go further than that. And we'd be like, okay, because we got to get over to Unity in the Community with Randolph. And we went over there for a year. What was the book, Mary? Help me out. The first little one. The Game of Life and How to Play It. Oh, great little book, small, So for people like me, I need small books to introduce me to stuff. But anyway, we went over for about a year. And then one day we got to talking, and unbeknownst to me, she thought maybe it's time for us to stop doing this double dipping thing and just go to Unity. And so we talked about it, and together we decided to go to Unity. That was 1995, January. The very first week, Randolph had invited Mary to service. I'm gonna try to make this short, but service is a very important part of our what we are. Down to the men's shelter. Mary went down to the men's shelter with Randolph. Men's shelter now. She came home, she said, Michael, this is for you. I said, what? Okay, I'll go, because you want to learn more about my career in substance abuse addiction treatment, we'll have to talk some other time. But I've been working with people who struggle with homelessness and those types of things. So the next week I went, 15 years later, we guesstimated 48 out of 52 weeks every year. We went down to that men's shelter and learned Unity principles. Because the best way to learn them is to do what? Serve. And teach them and practice them and teach them. That's how I got started. Now, to close with these thoughts. The first thing after I learned what namaste was I had to learn what metaphysics was. You know, I heard the word, but I didn't know what metaphysics. I was like, oh, this makes a whole lot of sense. Looking at the underlying meaning of stuff. Like, I never got that at my traditional church. You know, it's just, okay, you come to church, you pray, you ask God to forgive you for all your multitude of 10-year-old sins. 10 years old and I'm a sinner. You know, God bless you, Lawrence. But when you sang Amazing Grace and you used the traditional version of Save a Wretch Like Me, no, no. I'm never going to call you or me a wretch. I'll save the soul like me or whatever. But anyway, so I learned about metaphysics. We had people come like, I forget names, but I can remember the name of the book was because it's similar to the one you're doing right now. Conversations with God. Who remembers the name of the author of Conversations with God? You know, like, whoa, you know, this guy's like, you talk to God, he talked back to you? And they didn't send you to a crazy house? That was cool, you know? So Conversations with God. And then over the last few years, when we got this new condensed, I guess I call it a motto, it's actually our mission statement, but narrowed down. Love, grow, and serve. And I'm gonna tell you, I learned more about loving people without reservation of all kinds of backgrounds here at Unity than I would have learned in 3 or 4 lifetimes previously. You know, Unity has taught me how to experience love, both in receiving and giving. It's also taught me how to grow. You know, all the books that we've read over the years, and I encourage you, look into books, New Thought books, whether they're Unity New Thought or Science of Mind or India, just look into, you know, just keep looking and reading. That'll help you grow. And of course, keep coming here to different activities. And then serve. I think of all the things that happened to me while I've been here at Unity of Charlotte, starting to serve right away was one of the most powerful tools for my spiritual growth. And with that, I'll end with a recitation, if I can remember it. I wrote some of it down, from Ricky Byers. Raised in Charlotte, went to the same high school as my wife, Mary, Ricky Byers. So, you know, Black history. We got a wonderful New Thought musician, singer, songwriter. She writes, how can I serve today, sweet spirit? How can I serve today? Speak in ways that I will understand. Where you lead me, I will follow. How can I serve today? Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to Michael and to Lawrence for being willing to step up here and share your story. Can we give them all a hand? Yes. How inspiring. Both of these individuals are a beautiful model and example of unity in action. Unity alive, not just some nice spiritual principles that we sit on Sunday and go, oh, we're all love. Yes, I see the love in you. They have put them into action, and I am envisioning and affirming that we will continue to follow their examples as we continue to grow as a Unity community and reach out to our broader community in service in whatever way we are called to do. So thank you again for honoring us with your stories. I would like to now just take a moment to go into a little meditation time and prayer time. Take these words, these inspiring words from these two beautiful souls, and just take a deep breath in. And on your exhale, let yourself just relax a little deeper into the space you are in. Feel yourself become more present, more attuned to this moment right here, right now. Follow your breath for just a moment as you feel your physical body relax. The shoulders drop a little more. The eyes and the jaws relax. And notice what thoughts are going on in your mind. And invite them to gently be quiet for the moment. As we drop into our heart space, we drop into that space of feeling, of openness, of security, the kind of security that comes from within, knowing the indwelling spirit presence. And as we rest in that space, allow a sense of spaciousness to open at your heart center. Almost like walking out of a forest into a great wide open meadow. It's as if everything just opens up into this beautiful open space. Just feel that for a moment. And then invite someone you know well, that you love deeply, that you feel a strong heart connection to. Invite them into this space and see them there with you. And notice when they join you, how much the space grows. The energy of that love grows and multiplies. And now I ask you to invite someone that you're familiar with, but you're not that close to. It's just someone you may know, maybe someone you work with, maybe somebody in your neighborhood that you've had nice conversations with. You don't have the same deep heart connection with, but they're familiar to you and it's a friendly relationship. Invite them into this space, this wide open heart space. See them there with you. And notice how the space gets even bigger. How your heart opens even more. And now I want you to think of someone you might have a challenge with. Someone maybe that sets off your triggers. Someone you don't feel particularly close to. Invite them into this space. Invite them in. And what happens when they enter? Does your space grow even wider? Do you feel that heart connection grow? If there's a little resistance, that's okay. Sit with it for a moment. Notice it. And if you can, let that just melt, because this is a safe space. Finally, invite everyone in. Whatever everyone looks and feels to you, invite everyone in. See this heart space so expansive, there is nobody left out. And imagine how that feels. No resistance. No fighting back, no defending. Everyone exists in this heart space. And when you're ready, gently and gracefully begin to move back into your body, back into your mind. But let that heart space experience stay with you. Because there's something real and true and ever present about that space that is always with you. As we bring our attention back to the room, take a nice breath in. You are welcome here. I am welcome here. We are welcomed here. And so it is.
Now's the time in our service where we, wow, that's loud. Now is the time in our service where we can give back. This is the offering part. We know that as we give, we also receive. This is that principle of circulation within our lives. So I'm going to call forward the ushers, our ushers. Yes. We have one usher today. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I receive, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.